Kako. Welcome. We're so glad you're here today. It's nice to see that already in the chat. It feels like ohana. It feels like community and people recognizing each other and talking with one another. If you haven't had a chance to introduce yourself yet in the chat, please do. My name's Dan Kinzer, and I'm just going to help get us started today. I've had the pleasure of spending the last 8 weeks with all the participants in the Makers Bootcamp and with Vic and Keahi. So I feel lucky to be here today and get to see these final presentations, although they feel just a little bit more like a beginning than a final. So I'm really looking forward to it. I just want to say that if you are in the call and you're not speaking, if you can mute yourself, that will really help us. And once we start with presentations, if you want to put into presenter mode, speaker view, so that you can see the group that's sharing and see their screen, that'd be great. I want to start with some mahalo, some sharing some gratitude, and want to start with a very special mahalo to both the Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement and Kamehameha Schools, who really helped make this experience possible. So big mahalo to both of those organizations working to take care of Hawaii. I also want to thank, we had a few guest kumu visit us over the course of these 8 weeks. And so I really want to acknowledge John Garcia, Pohai also with Oiwi Online, John Garcia's awesome new project, EA or Exchange Avenue, and Joey Valenti from Albizia Project all came and shared their insights on design and entrepreneurship and indigenous innovation. And we all found those really, really helpful and inspiring. So thank you to those kumu. I really want to offer a mahalo to all of the participants because it was so inspiring to watch you guys from the very beginning. We set out to, let's give them a round of applause. We set out to before we made anything else, we wanted to really make a beloved community, really make ohana and relationships. And they took off with that spirit and really embraced that spirit of community and collaboration, care for each other and care for our whole community. So it was really a privilege to learn with them over these last 8 weeks. And I also want to give a special thanks to Vic and Keahi, who invited me in, let me join in the fun. Vic and Keahi are outstanding kumu, outstanding teachers who I think we all can agree really inspired us with their knowledge and their obvious love for making our community a better place. So thank you both, Vic and Keahi. So for the past 8 weeks, it's amazing that it's only been 8 weeks, but it's also amazing because it's flown by. But in just that short period of time, this group, this Makers Bootcamp, really dove into an exploration of design thinking and what that means from our perspective here in Hawaii and through the lens of indigenous innovation. And it was really impressive, really learning from the participants themselves, kind of what they already knew. We have people in this class who already have PhDs. Some are just setting out, early stages of higher education. And so full range of knowledge and wisdom and expertise brought to the table that really fueled a fantastic sort of learning adventure into design thinking. And that took, and we also spent some time digging into some technologies, and we have people in the course who were brand new to some of the technologies and technological concepts and skills we were talking about. And it was really impressive to watch them dive in and try to tackle some of this, challenging learning and technology skills. And we also have others in the class who are really advanced in their technological understandings, and they dove in and built on the technologies that we learned in this class really quickly. But really then over the last 3 weeks, kind of the most fun part of this class, we formed 3 teams, and you're going to hear from each of them today. And they, in such a short period of time, collaborated to develop real solutions, real prototypes of real solutions to real problems right now in our community here in Hawaii. And they put a lot of heart and a lot of intelligence into what they did, and a lot of time and effort. And I'm really appreciative of that. But in just 3 weeks' time, I think everyone will leave today impressed and inspired by all of you, all of the participants who really came a long way in an incredibly short period of time. And it all happened over online meetings, which is another, and in the context of these crazy times that we're living in. So thank you everyone for all of the effort that you put in, and all of those of you who are visiting us today, all of our special guests listening in, thank you for being here and giving us your attention. But I want to be quiet and get this show started. The reason we're all actually here, definitely not to listen to me. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up our first team. I believe that's Ipu. So the Ipu team, if you guys want to get ready and maybe start sharing your screen, we can give them a round of applause. We've got Rain and Loke and Kahele and Hanu and Amali. You guys have been doing some awesome work, and excited to hear from you. So I'm going to mute myself and you guys can take it over. Let's go, Ipu.
Hello, my kako. We are the group who created Ipu. Ipu stands for Indigenous Plants for You, and it's a vessel of knowledge to encourage Indigenous health and well-being. So we're going to start off with some introductions. Aloha, uvauno o kahele jokin, no keokaha mayau, and I will be a MPH student at UH Manoa this fall.
Aloha kako, my name is Rain Sullivan and I live here on Oahu. And this fall I'll be pursuing my law degree.
Aloha, my name is Loke Evans Bautista. I live in Hilo and I currently work for Napua No'eau at UH Hilo. Aloha.
Aloha everyone, my name is Hanu Del Mendo. I am a rising college sophomore at UH Manoa and I am from Oahu.
Aloha, my name is Amelie. I am from Mililani, Oahu, and I am a PhD student in public health at UH Manoa.
Aloha kako. So this app was an inspiration that branched out from an original idea of connecting cultural practitioners to community members. And so Ipu evolved as an app that has a similar goal, but on a much more personal level. So we wanted to directly connect Kanaka Oiwi, Indigenous people to our aina, to our land. And we did that through the use of Indigenous plants. And so our main goal, our mission was to provide awareness and education on these 4 most prevalent health concerns that I will get into soon, that are affecting our Native Hawaiian population, and to encourage our people to use Indigenous plants to heal, to maybe prevent these health conditions, and to restore that relationship from Kanaka to Aina, people to our culture, and to our lahui as a whole. And so out of the many problems that we have here in Hawaii, unfortunately, our group is very passionate about health. And so the 4 most prevalent health concerns amongst our Native Hawaiian population are hypertension, cancer, diabetes, and heart disease. If you can take a moment and think about, see how many family members, how many loved ones, how many friends might I have who are diagnosed with these health conditions that may have passed away with these conditions already affecting their health. I already have a handful that I can count within my family. And so our group was very passionate about trying to heal our people. And so this is what we came out with. And I wanted to really emphasize the factors of why might our health be so poor. As we know, there's so many factors that go into our overall health: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. And the 2 main factors that we're always told by medical practitioners is diet and exercise, right? We need a balanced diet to our exercise ratio. Others, we might not hear too much is sleep, like something easy as sleep. We're always on our screens, we don't get enough sleep, we are overweight, we ate way too many processed foods. Another major contributor to our health is stress. And so all of these factors that I just mentioned all can stimulate cortisol, which is an inflammatory response, right? So inflammation is a broad response that can be induced in so many different ways. And so other triggers like historical trauma, we are subconsciously dealing with that every single day on so many different levels. Emotional stress, interactions with our social groups, our family members, our community members, especially at this time. And financial stress is a huge one that we've been dealing with, these past couple months. And so if we're always in a hypersensitive state of stress, we're gonna build up that stress. And with plenty stress, there's inflammation, right? That's our body's natural way of combating or reacting to stress. So if we have choke stress, we're gonna have choke inflammation, and inflammation is a base of all the chronic diseases that we have. And I wanted to really emphasize of like all the factors that go into our health, but stress is one of those main that we deal with on a day-to-day ritual. And we created this Ipu app to address that. We wanted to encourage our people to get back to the Aina, use our indigenous plants for our health, to connect back to our culture, to connect with our land, and to heal our people. So I'm gonna turn it on to Rain, who will discuss more about the solution that we created.
Mahalo, Kehele. And bridging on Kehele's point, of all the different factors that play a part in health and well-being, the spiritual and the physical can't be separated. And so while our app just focuses on the physical aspect, at least for now, we wanted to present this, this saying by Papa Henry to really hone in on the point. And our chief inspiration for this project was La'au Lapa'au. And so La'au Lapa'au is solving the problems of body, mind, and spirit. In Hawaiian healing, the mental is not separate from the spiritual and the physical. Rely on spiritual insight and most of all, guidance from Keakua. And so when we think about this, our core focus was two-pronged: intervention and prevention. And so the way we presented the information was to talk about both traditional uses of these plants and also nutritional uses. And we wanted to do this division because we wanted to improve not only your today, but your everyday, because our core mission is Ho'ola Lahui. And so we wanted to, use traditional uses that we had learned or researched, whether through Kumu or Ohana or through Kapuna, and present those as traditional uses, while also presenting nutritional uses so that you can incorporate these nutritional and healthy recipes for your everyday. So that perhaps if you're pre-diabetic or you have maybe these concerns that are growing, you could use this as a way to help prevent that. And if you maybe already have these conditions, we present the traditional uses to help present that. And, looking at these plants, and we'll explore later on, through their traditional and nutritional uses, it's not only a way for us to take care of ourselves and our well-being physically and spiritually, but when we take care of ourselves, we can take care of the land. When we take care of the land can take care of us. And so thinking about it as a comprehensive approach to health and well-being. And so, our goal with this app, with all these different recipes and approaches, is that we want to make it as accessible as possible. From everyone from Kapuna to Mo'opuna, everyone can enjoy and use this app. And so I'll turn it over to my friend Loke.
Awesome. Mahalo nui Kahele and Rain. So a little bit about Ipu. I was given the word Ipu for our app. And because I'm not technology savvy like everybody else, I wanted to bring something. And so during my time of Pule, I was given Ipu with the meaning of it being indigenous plants for you. And like I think we've all shared, there's a lot of spiritual that goes along with physical. And so that's how we got the name Ipu. And then again, Kahele did some beautiful designing with the Ipu, our logo, and the different plants that are represented on there. So that's a little bit about Ipu. So our Ipu app, so the goals of our app are to bring awareness of the 4 most prevalent health issues that Native Hawaiians face, and also to promote the use of indigenous plants, to bring healing to our kino, and to nurture and restore the connection to the lahui, to the aina, and to our culture. And so some of the features of our app is so cool. Oh my gosh, I can't wait for you guys all to see it. But some of the features that we have is that we give a lot of statistics and information about 4 of the conditions that we're talking about. And we also offer some of the research that we've done on 5 of our indigenous plants. So you might be wondering, like, why did we choose 5 of the plants? There's so many to choose from. So because we have 5 in our group, and as we were discussing this, everybody had a story about a plant and about maybe a la'aulapa'au that they had. And so we ended up doing 5 plants. So the 5 plants we chose were our olana, mamaki, ulu, kukui, and kalo. And so each of the plants, we have an olelo no'eau for, we have characteristics of the plant, we have the health benefits of the plant, we even include where you can find it. So we were fortunate enough to have John Garcia share with us his Exchange app. And so we put that link in our app to allow people anywhere in the state to potentially, if you have extra, put it on the app. You can share it with others. If you're looking for some, hopefully we can encourage the use of his Exchange app as well as encourage use of ours. And we also have the traditional recipes. So the traditional recipes are each of us either researched it, or it's a recipe that we already use, or it might be a recipe that maybe our ohana had shared with us and maybe we didn't use, but we heard about it. So those are the traditional recipes that we bring. And we also want to put a disclaimer in there. None of us are certified la'aulapa'au cultural practitioners. None of us are doctors yet, but we still have an opportunity to use the knowledge from our kupuna. And we also offer some fabulous, nutritious recipes that we are hoping people won't be afraid to use the plants. I think a lot of times I've been like, I don't know how to use an ulu. I don't even know when it's ripe or when can I use it. And those were some of the things that helped me to realize that these are everyday problems. And so we're hoping that by using our nutritious recipes that people will use it to promote healing within their body and to also prevent some of the four health disparities that we're talking about. So with that being said, we are going to turn it over to Master Hanu, and he will show us our app at this time. Enjoy.
Okay, we're going to be switching over to Glide now. Glide is a software that we learned in this class. It's used to create apps without any code and done solely through the use of Google Sheets. And if you want to follow along, or if you want to try it out for yourself, you can scan the QR code in the top right-hand corner and add Ipu app to your home screen. So starting out, we have our homepage, once again, our beautiful logo made by Kahele, and a section on, just a reiteration of our website, the significance of the Ipu name, the significance to our purpose, to this app's purpose, and then a short little blurb, our mission statement. Right below that, we have health issues. So we talked a lot about how we wanted to sort of frame our app so that it was accessible to people, and having these health issues, these four most prevalent health issues to Native Hawaiians today in the front of our minds, we felt that it was fitting to have them on the front page of our app right when you get in. Meaning that once you click on one of these health issues, you're going to be taken to specific information, specific traditional uses, and nutritional recipes specific to each of these health issues. So say I was diagnosed with hypertension and I go onto this app. What I want to do is select hypertension, and I'm taken first to the hypertension page. We have an about section at the very top with just to learn more about hypertension and hypertension specific to the Native Hawaiian population. That was really important to us. And resources, outside resources, links to websites where you can learn more about community resources, just general information on high blood pressure as it relates to the Native Hawaiian population. And right below that, we have all the plants contained in this app, which have traditional uses that are connected to high blood pressure. And say I have Olena in my backyard, or I have it in my fridge or something, I can go onto Olena once again, carrying that ipu theme throughout. We have an Olelo no Eau at the top. And then similar to the health issue section, we have an about section for Olena. Under about, Loke talked a little bit about this, but we have origins, so the backstory of the plant, and then a longer section on the health benefits. And then if you have, what you think is Olena, but you're not sure, you can go into characteristics and figure out if what you have is Olena. And if you don't have Olena, you can go into where to find. We've listed here for each of the plants, we've listed links to resources, places to buy, places to find, places to get from people. And then once again, Exchange app, which is a really great resource if you have things to exchange with others in your community. So yeah. And then lastly, we have a grow your own section. So if you want to grow Olena in your backyard or any of our plants, we have videos, text, and then sometimes images to teach you how to grow Olena on your own in your backyard. And after going through that, or you can just skip down to the traditional uses and nutritional recipes, but we have traditional uses. So since you had clicked on the hypertension, high blood pressure at the beginning, you're going to get traditional uses for hypertension, Olena specific traditional uses for hypertension here. We have Olena hot tea, and right below that, you have the purpose of this traditional use. So the purposes may range from just what you had clicked on, or it may cover, all of the 4 health issues that we had started off with at the beginning of the app. So a lot of these traditional uses that are contained in this app actually are very useful for all of our health issues. We have what you need and what you need to do. And then our disclaimer, of course. We felt it was, in the interest of full disclosure, we better put this in. We are not qualified healthcare providers. And all this information, especially the traditional uses, are on this app for the purposes of education rather than medical. And please do not consult with your qualified and licensed physician or other medical care provider, regardless of what you read on this app. But we try to provide you with the best information and the most factual information possible. We have some of the plants contain other traditional uses. For example, Olena drops, not one of our 4 main health issues, but is also good for sinus congestion and ear infection. And then lastly, we get to nutritional recipes. So these I know we were making the separation between traditional uses and nutritional recipes, but nutritional recipes just as important, just as effective, and often more accessible to people. So if you want to make a delicious smoothie, you may want to make this berry Olena smoothie, just add in a finger of fresh Olena and you're good to go. Not only is this app important for the health issues, but I also wanted to point out that there are these broader implications of, you know, we talked a little bit about the spiritual aspect of it. We have this health and nutrition aspect of it. But, you know, if you go under mamaki, one of our plants in here, there is information on how mamaki is the host plant for the Kamehameha butterfly, which is one of only 2 native butterflies in our state. So, you know, the use of olena, the use of mamaki encourages the cultivation of these plants in our community, and in turn, you know, supports our environment, supports our land. So yeah, the implications are far greater than just health and wellness. And that is the extent of our app. And we're going to go back to our website now and take a look at feedback.
So lastly, we wanted to talk about the feedback process that we went through. At 2 different stages, when we were developing the app, we asked people for feedback. And overall, the responses were positive, which was nice. People said it increased their knowledge. And after the first round of feedback, we were able to discuss comments people had made and whether or not we were to implement their suggestions. So that was kind of a nice activity as a group to be able to discuss why we included certain things in the app and why we didn't include certain things. As you can see from this page, we had people from all ages look at the app, as well as different, whether or not they were diagnosed with these chronic diseases. But pretty much the people who went over it said that they found something, they learned something new, or they found something that was useful. And what was nice was we felt like we accomplished our goal, which is to provide specific information about using native plants to promote wellness in Native Hawaiians. And that's our presentation.
Encourage people to share their reactions, their virtual reactions. You can clap or thumbs up on Zoom if you want to. You can make some noise if you want to. Team Ipu, that was fantastic. If you guys haven't had a chance to look through the chat, I recommend you do. People are super excited about your app. So thank you for that wonderful presentation. I do want to say remarkable that in 3 weeks, both with Webflow and Glide, you guys accomplished incredible things. You should be so proud of yourselves. Donovan asked a great question. Donovan Kealoha asked a great question. Loke gave some great responses. That question was about how to get this in the hands of more people, right? What's the strategy for adoption? So, and Loke shared some of that, but definitely want to know how we can help. I want to learn more about these native plants and all their uses. So how do we get it out in the hands of Kapuna, in the hands of Keiki? I think, you know, it has potentially a wide reach. So well done. If there are other questions, people can throw them quickly into the chat. But other than that, I think we have just a lot of encouragement and yeah, people celebrating Team Ipu. So well done, guys. Nice work. All right. I don't see, oh, yeah. I see Mike in there, Sarmiento, talking about be a great resource for program with families starting their own mala so that they know, hey, these are some of the plants that we could be growing, especially at home during this time where it looks like schools are going to be, you know, blended or shut down or from learning from home for a little while. So yeah, awesome work, guys. All right, thank you. Thank you, Team Ipu. I'm going to invite our next team, the Gatekeepers team, to start their presentation. This team is made up of Austin and Kylie and Malia and Maya. Yeah, I'm really excited for what they've been working on as well. So yeah, let's welcome the Gatekeepers.
All right, aloha kako. Welcome to our Gatekeepers presentation. Our hui consists of Austin Chang, Kylie Nakata, Maya Walton, and myself, Malia Evans. We want to acknowledge and mahalo Vic, Ke'ahi, Dan, and the Purple Maya crew for giving us this incredible opportunity to create and innovate. Next slide, please. 18 years ago, I had a dream. While my body lay slumbering in the darkness of night, My spirit was on a journey to Po, the spiritual world of my ancestors. In my dream, it was twilight, that dusky span when night begins its silent creeping into the clamor of day. When shadows wrap you like a kihei, comforting, safe, like the arms of a loving parent. I stood beside a path. It wound between barren hills, receding into a sepia landscape, grainy and lacking color, like an old-fashioned photo. Standing on the path were people, hundreds of people. The length of the multitude extended until those standing in the distance were a dark line on the horizon. As I stood beside that path, in the dimness of approaching night, a glimmer of awareness began to grow within my na'au. Although their features were indistinct and hidden in shadows, there was a strong bond, a connection that flowed between us all. Within me, pulsing through my heart and veins, was their life-giving blood, a lei of red feathers that bound us, one to each other. They were my ohana, my lifeline to the past and to the future. I realized in that moment the deep kuleana, the responsibility and privilege I had to honor my ancestors by understanding the depth of knowledge they acquired because of their intimate relationship with their environment and with each other. That dream vision opened up a gate in me. The aina began to call to me. I started researching the cultural landscapes and history of Waialua, where I lived. Then I began to write for our local newspaper, continuing the literary traditions of my ancestors. I became an advocate and educator to remind people of the rich cultural and historical legacy that surrounded them. It's 18 years later, and that vision lives within this app called Gatekeepers. Next slide, please. So what is that vision and that dream? It has to do with Ea. Ea means sovereignty, rule, independence. Ea means life, air, breath. Ea means to rise, to go up, to raise. So this app seeks to educate and activate so that we can all rise together and protect and preserve those things we deem valuable. Next slide. So I introduced you to the dream, and now I'll introduce you to a few of my ancestors who inspired it. My kupuna kane kuakahi, Solomon Hanohano, and kupuna kane kualua, Jonathan Nakila, were newspaper editors and worked to preserve all things Hawaiian through the Kanupepa Kuoko'a, the longest published Hawaiian language newspaper in Hawaii. The Hawaiian language newspapers were critical in sharing ideas, documenting knowledge, and engaging the highly literate Hawaiian population in current and political affairs. Next slide. So the gatekeepers of the past, they utilized emerging technology of the printing press and writing to document and preserve cultural information. If we remember that this was a very tumultuous time of loss and decline of the Hawaiian population, and the newspapers were a primary and rich source of Hawaiian history, culture, and the sharing of ideas. Most of the writers and editors were Kanaka Maoli, and they presented a native view of historical events in Hawaii and the world. Once again, the word ea keeps coming up with educate and activating the lahui. Next slide. So the gatekeepers of the present are utilizing emerging technology, just like our kupuna, to document cultural and environmental information. Gatekeepers is a living archive and inventory that preserves local history. It's a community-based tool to educate and activate Kuleana and advocate for the proper stewardship of cultural and natural resources. And we are once again going through some tumultuous times of job loss and food insecurity, and communities may need to become self-sustainable and utilize their resources within their communities. Next page, please. So I'm gonna hand this off to my friend Austin, who will give you some of the features of the app.
Great. Aloha, everyone. My name is Austin, and I will be introducing our Glide app. So as Hanu said, Glide is a platform to create mobile web apps that require no coding or programming experience. And all of the data is stored on a Google spreadsheet. So which for us, that includes names, addresses, descriptions, links to web pages, images, and videos. If you'd like, you can use your smartphone camera to scan this QR code and download our app on your phone. So when you first open the app, you'll see our homepage, and it introduces what Gatekeepers is, a unique way to discover, archive, and protect the local history of communities. Through education and stewardship, we can protect these significant places for future generations. And then it goes on, if you scroll down, it goes on to introduce all of the other tabs we have in our app, including Wahimakamai with a map of Waialua, which comes from a map created by Kamehameha Schools, and it includes all of the ahupua'a. The tabs Mele and Oli, Olelo No'eau, Kupuna Voices, Reports, and External Resources, and we'll go through each tab right now. So our first is Wahimakamai. This includes all of the significant places we decided to feature in our app. So that's historic sites, Lo'ikalo, Loko'i'a, Ahupua'a, Mauna, Heiau, and a fishing shrine. And if you tap in one of these places, let's see, I go into Waimea Valley, it has a short description of what it is and a little history of it, which Moku and Ahupua'a is included, or which is located. It's historic map, so if I click on that, it brings up a map of the place. Some mo'olelo of Waimea Valley or any of the places that you decide to click on. And also some of the places have websites and social media links. So this is our Wahimakamai tab. Next is the Mele Oli tab, and it looks very similar, but instead when you click on it, a place, it has links to, like this one is lyrics and translations of a song about that place. In this case, kind of point. Let's see. And also videos of performances of that place. So now I will hand it over to Maya, and she will share more about the other tabs in our app.
Okay, thanks, Austin. I think everyone can see my screen. I'm gonna show everyone these last two tabs to the right. So we'll start here with Olelo No'eau. We wanted to feature Olelo No'eau in this app, Hawaiian proverbs that memorialize Aina, speak to traditional Hawaiian values, and reveal how Hawaiians understood the world around them. So this particular tab is organized a little bit differently. It's in a list, and we chose this format because you can see a little bit of the Olelo No'eau here in the preview. This tab is really cool because you can also switch here and view the different places in Waialua through this map. And when you click on a particular place, say for example, like click on here, the Kukani Local Birthstones, what you'll see are Olelo No'eau followed by the translation or notes in English. And as you scroll down, you'll see all of the various Olelo No'eau that we have featured for this particular place. Moving on to the far right, we have a tab that we've labeled Kupuna Voices. We feature kupuna here because they are living sources of knowledge, culture, community values, and history. And this particular tab is organized by the names of the kupuna. So if you click on someone, it'll show a link for an ArcGIS story map. And these story maps feature interviews that were completed by the UH Manoa North Shore Ethnographic Field School in the year 2018. And so these particular story maps, if you scroll down, you'll see video clips from interviews who are, that feature perspectives from kupuna of these places in Waialua. And I'm gonna hand it off to Kylie now.
Okay, so I am going to present. In this pull-out tab we have on the side, we have just a couple more tabs. Our first one that I'll explain is our external resources tab. So as Malia was explaining, you know, our overarching goal of the app was to educate and activate our community. And our app is really tailored towards places within the community and the significance of those places, but we also recognize that there are other ways to educate and activate the community. And so this is some of the resources that we have gathered through this cohort. And one of these resources, just as an example, when you click on this, it's Oiwi Online, and it was created by cultural advocate Pohai Panok, and she actually came and presented this to us, and we thought it was a great resource because not only does it have initiatives for virtual learning, but it also has initiatives for in-person learning as well when that becomes available again. We also have tabs for Vehe, which we all know is the Hawaiian language dictionary online. And so all of these really, we think, help those who want to further expand their wealth of knowledge when it comes to the Hawaiian culture. Another tab that we have is just our resources that we utilized. So these are some of the books and online websites that we got our information from. And if you see here, Malia, she actually was a great resource for us. She's very, very educated. And so this is kind of how we documented where we found our information. So now I'm gonna pass it back over to Malia, who will explain our last tab, our reports tab. I think you might be muted.
Okay, so our reports tab, let's see. Kylie, would you be able to bring that up? Oh, there we go, okay. So reports are really important if you really want to advocate for your aina, understanding what the topography looks like, what archaeology has been done. We've been fortunate that we found a lot of online content, which includes management plans, archaeological reports, cultural impact assessments. And if you look at all the different types of documents, it really will give you a more holistic view of the function of these places and really what was going on in the past and what's going on in the present. So for me, with my archaeology background, I know that having access to this can really help community members understand what's there on their landscapes, and also be able to go and testify if they need to write letters to the editor, if they need to advocate in any way for their treasured places, their wahi makamai, then they'll have access to those resources. So that was a real important component that we wanted to include. And the cultural reports, there's thesis or dissertations. We tried to include a nice, well-rounded group of different reports that could help the community. And I think we are going to pass it. I'm going to pass it to Kylie, yes?
Yes. Okay. So we actually did test run our app within the community, and we received a good number of responses. We received 27 responses. Age range was pretty widespread, from 21 to 68. We had a lot of different occupations. So just an example was we had Hawaiian studies teacher, self-employed, social worker, postdoctoral students, etc. And it was a pretty even split between female and male responses. So overall, we received pretty positive responses, and some of the things that they said in their responses, they said it was useful for people who are interested but don't really know how to get the information. And, though our app focuses on Wailua, it is a template for other communities. And it's great for Hawaiian stories to be told, educating students and yourself as well. And we also got 2 kumuhula from Waialua. They responded to our app and wanted to share some mele and oli that they composed, so that's also on our app. So we also had, we sent out our app, and we also sent out a survey associated with the app. And so on that survey, we asked the people who used our app if they had any suggestions or any feedback regarding the app and what they wanted to see. And so some responses that we got asked us to describe the tabs more in depth, just so that there wouldn't be any confusion as to what the purpose was. And so we actually went ahead and did that, which is why our homepage is so detailed. Another thing that they asked was, some people are more visual learners, I know I am, so they asked if we could add a map which could show all the sites, and we actually did add that. So in the Olelo no Eau tab, as Maya was explaining, when you click on the map icon, it shows you this map, and if you click on this, it'll actually show you where you are in reference to those locations. So I think that's really cool, because people who are just in that area will see where they're close to and where they're a little farther from. We also received some feedback from people who actually lived in Waialua. We got a lot. We got 7 responses from people who lived in Waialua, and they said it was great because they found information about places they didn't know existed. So that was one of our goals of the app, to educate and activate. So we also recognize that there are future improvements to be made to the app, and some ideas that we have are adding winds and rains of Waialua, so weather patterns, and understanding cultural practices and protocols when entering these treasured places. So I know that as a community, sometimes there's a frustration when we see people going into these culturally significant sites and not knowing what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. So we're thinking of, adding that so that people know how they should act and what's respectful in these places. We also want to add mo'olelo and ka'au of Waialua to our app. So some of the reflections that we had, I'll share first. This was a really, really great learning experience. Not only did I learn from Vic, Keahi, and Dan, but I also learned from my group mates as well. And it was just a great experience overall, because I know that this app is really something that can be used not only within the Hawaiian community, but within the larger community as well for education.
I guess I'll share next some reflections. By working with a fabulous team, I learned so much about my Hawaiian culture, about teamwork, and it was also a very enjoyable experience for me. And as for this Makers Bootcamp in general, I feel like I really gained the confidence to take ideas in my head and use new technologies to solve problems that I'm passionate about. Thank you.
I'll go next. This is Maya. Yeah, thank you so much to all the Kumu of the Makers Bootcamp. We learned so much from each of you. And yesterday when our group was reflecting on the process and the app that we built together, thank you so much to Malia, who was a really wonderful teacher and a leader in our group. One thing that I'm walking away with is I was kind of scared at first, this idea of sending a prototype out into the world before maybe it was final. But now I see how useful that is to get feedback on prototypes and go through this process of iteration. And I'm going to carry that with me outside of the bootcamp. I think prototypes, iteration, this is like a great tool to have, and it'll help us be more adaptive and more resilient, especially during these tumultuous times, like Malia said.
So my reflections were, I had such a great team, really incredible skill sets. Every single one of them brought to the table or to the app such an incredible diversity of knowledge. And I so appreciated that because I'm one of those like not tech savvy people either. But this really forced me out of my comfort zone. I was forced to learn things that I didn't know before, the technology aspects, given tools that I feel are so important. Like now we have tools to take an idea, this really ephemeral kind of thing, and bring it into a physical reality. So for me, I just really appreciated that those tools that were given to us. And also with the app, you know, it's not just for places, it could be utilized for institutions or organizations because they have culture as well. And they have institutional knowledge that can be recorded and preserved. So we're hoping that this will be a template for other communities who treasure their places and for even organizations who want to make sure that they document and record their own very special culture. So mahalo.
A big virtual Zoom round of applause for Gatekeepers. You guys are amazing. I'm just really kind of moved at this moment. And I know it's true of the Got Grinds group who's about to come up and share too, but you know, such a gift to work with you all. You know, you come with such bravery and such a great spirit of building on the knowledge of your place and of your kumu and of your kopuna, your ancestors, and across the board that applies. And so I think Purple Maya Foundation, I'll speak on behalf of Purple Maya and just saying we're so lucky and so happy to have you guys as part of the Ohana. And like I said in the beginning, for all of you participants, this is more of a beginning than an end. So we're going to keep bothering you and bugging you and inviting you and asking you to come join us and make some more stuff. It's really amazing what we can do when we're building things together in community like this. So you guys are definitely inspiring me today and for the last 8 weeks. So mahalo. I don't see any big questions in the chat, but I do see that, you know, people love how you're responding to collecting and responding to feedback. And in 3 weeks already integrating input into your product. So pretty impressive, you know, for all the teams that in such a short time, you guys are iterating, not only coming up with a prototype like Maya talked about, but iterating on it and improving on it so quickly. So nice work. Nice work. All right, I'm going to be quiet because I know we all want to hear from Got Grinds from the last team. So please, you guys are up, and Aisha and Anna and Casey and Kylan, we're excited to hear from you. So, mahalo.
Well, wonderful. So before we get started, I guess we'll do a little bit of introductions. Aloha, my name is Anna. I work at Palama Settlement. I teach elementary school kids how to program computers by helping them write their own software through video games that are usually cultural and place-based. And we also work with a high school population of kids who, for one reason or another, aren't fitting in at their regular high school. So we offer an alternative learning center there. Let's go ahead and do, introductions.
Aloha, everyone. My name is Aisha Heredia. I work at Hawaii Kids Can. I'm one of a small team of 2 here in the islands, and we work for student voice in the state and school structures, so students have a place to share their opinions and also make changes in their communities. Former educator, and I have a passion for school foods because I also used to work in the line of trying to change school foods across the state. So Kylan, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Kylan. I'm a software developer and I live in Las Vegas. I just like to eat the school food.
Hi, I'm Casey. I work at Palama Settlement too. I teach graphic design and Yep, I eat lunch too, I think.
Nice. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and sort of frame the problem or the opportunity, as Dan put it in one of our early classes. Not everything is necessarily a problem, but maybe an opportunity to improve upon. So let me go ahead and share. Let me go full screen. There we go. Okay, so so this is actually something that I pitched to class pretty early on. And it starts all the way here where I work at Palama Settlement. Like I said, I work with elementary school kids, but the problem or whatever that we're centering on today is mainly with our high school students. There's this one student, and I can't say his name, but we get students from all over that come to this community center. So it's not just Hawaiians, there's also a large Micronesian population. And there's this one student in particular who was from Chuuk. And he was staying at this place called Hōʻike, and they were feeding him, or supposedly they were offering him food. And but he always came to school hungry and always so tired. And there's already so many other like obstacles in his path to success that food should not be one of them. And we sort of asked him that day, like, what's going on? Like, I figured that they were feeding you. What's happening? And he said that the only option was oatmeal. And he doesn't like oatmeal. Oatmeal is not a cultural food in Chuuk at all. And I chose this picture here because this is what you think oatmeal looks like, but really it winds up looking like something like this, very sad. So instead of eating the food that was offered to him, he chose to starve himself instead. And then, oh, well, it went to the military base, but the map bit didn't load, so that's fine. So I talked with my friends and myself, and it turns out that school lunches are all kind of the same across all of America, and not even just in America, but also anywhere like this military base in Okinawa. And she said that her food was sort of the same, like pizza and milk and a cheese stick, and she hadn't really ever heard about vegetable prep or anything until she was out of there. So I started doing research into who makes these decisions for the food for all of the children across America and even outside of America. And it turns out it's a place that's really, really, really far away. It's actually all the way, way across the globe, all the way on the East Coast is the USDA Food and Nutrition Service. And 2020 marks the year that people gather and they plan food for the next 5 years. So this month marks the end of their like deliberations. For the next 5 years, it's set in stone. And so what we're looking at is an opportunity for because this is great. It's wonderful to feed children. It's awesome that there is a program for children to get food. But as you saw with that student I mentioned earlier, he chose not eating. He chose starving himself over eating the food that was offered. So clearly there is an opportunity for improvement. So we chose to focus in on a school nearby, Eva Mackay Middle School, to try and see if we could address this problem. So I'm going to turn it over to Aisha, and she's going to talk about what our solution is, or yeah.
Mahalo, Anna, for framing the problem or opportunity. So we decided that we need to start with some things that we know. We know at least two things: that there isn't much room for student input on the types of food that they eat at school, right? Students usually are the last people to be asked for their opinions, but they're the people who are going to be served in the cafeteria. We also know that there's room for change, either at the school level or at the state level, or even at the USDA level, who creates the school food menus. But we needed evidence on how and why to create that change. You just don't go to an institution and say, we want a completely different menu. We need data from our students that says we actually want these changes. So we created Got Grinds. It's an app that is very similar to Instagram. We decided to craft this app very similar to that app because students are already used to using it. It's easily understandable. You take a picture and you share a review of your food. So we're starting out with getting student voice, with them sharing about the meals that they're being provided. And Got Grinds is is the first part of our solution, our student food journal, Food for Your Thoughts. So I'm going to pass this over to Kylan, who is going to explain a little bit about our development process.
When we first got the problem, we knew that we kind of wanted to have a mobile app just so that it would be easier for students to be able to quickly log onto their phone and write down what they had for lunch and then move on with their day. And so given the assignment from Purple Maya to make our own personal Glide apps, we kind of saw how limiting Glide was in the beginning. So Vic challenged us to try and create an app from scratch, which is hard. It's hard to do in 3 weeks. And so we were planning on deciding on technologies and to create the app and stuff like that. And after a week of not even being able to decide what we should do, we kind of decided, okay, we just need to get something tangible. So we, stuck with Glide, even though it has limitations because it's a free app, it's a free platform. But it's really easy considering the time frame and the time restrictions that we had to use something that was a no-code platform. So we made the Glide app and we made the website using Webflow. And what's really nice about using Glide apps is that the code can be replicated, or I guess the no code could be replicated to different schools. So say, for example, we started with Eva Mackay, but one day we want to start with like another middle school, right? So each school can have their own separate app that can just be replicated with their own sheet. So that was one of the, I guess, blessings in disguise that we had for using Glide apps. So I guess I'll pass it over to Casey so he can show you the actual app because it's pretty awesome.
All right, give me 1 second. Nope. Yep. Cool. So this is our app. Let me refresh it to make it look like I'm a student. So you would sign in, make an account, and these would be the posts over here. You would make your profile. That is a picture of me in 8th grade. Just kidding. And then you would post a photo. So say if I'm doing that one, it would be of apples. If you wanted to add tags, I'm not really good at that. My overall reaction, I think I like apples, so I'm gonna go with that one. And it would be either breakfast, lunch, or snack. It'd be snack. Yeah, hold on. And I would go, oh, how does it, it looks good. I think it smells all right, tastes pretty good. Probably gonna drink water with it. Water is usually good. And your reaction to how you felt after the food, I would say, and these are all your choices. So I would say wonderful. And then I would submit it. And now I have a post on here. And yeah. And then these are your users. And yeah, cool. So, yep, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen.
Cool. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and show you the other side of it, because what's the point of having all of these students share all the photos of their meal and rate them if we can't actually have the data be aggregated in some way that's easy to see so that the admin and the food meal planners can look and see what needs changing. So let me share screen, share, and then where is it? No. Okay, the Zoom bar. There we go. Okay. So, And if you know me, you know that I love data. I love graphs. So up at the top in this hamburger menu, there is an admin view. And the admin view has a bunch of graphs, but the first thing that you can do that you can't do from the student view, and this admin view would be restricted by email address to whoever the admin is for the school, so that some of the data is confidential. So you can sort all posts like you've seen before. You can sort things by the reaction, by what meal it was, and then even from here you can search. So I think I saw someone put in the worst, like, so you can search those hashtags, and then someone here, the worst is these breadsticks, and it made them feel irritated. So you can see right away, or like you can even search by like spaghetti, and you can see the spaghetti lunch made people feel bloated and sluggish right off the bat. And then from there, you can also look at all these super colorful graphs. So this first graph is the average overall tally. Like when you saw Casey choose those emojis of like 1 to 5, from like heart eyes to I'm almost gonna Ralph, that is the overall tally based on the meal. So if I was a meal planner, I would look at this and say, overall, it seems like snacks compared to the other meals are not doing as great. So maybe that's something I need to look at. And then this is a graph that shows you, if I click, yes, and drag, then you can see sort of the overall emotions that people are having based on the meal plan that they have. And of course, our average drink ratings, juice is not doing so hot, milk is doing great, and then average look, smell, taste ratings. But where it really gets into the meat of it, or the like nitty-gritty data, is what specific foods are doing well. Like this data is all well and fine if you can see snacks aren't good, but maybe some of the snacks are doing well, but the overall average is going down because of something else. So that's where we get into our detailed data. So you can see here, these are the overall reactions. The things that are doing the best is spaghetti. The things that's doing the worst is the taco salad. You can look at it based on looks, if maybe that's something that you want to approach the staff, the kitchen staff at your school for, of like, hey, maybe the taco salad is rated so poorly because it just looks terrible. Like maybe it's tasting fine. You can go based on the smell rating as well. Spaghetti is really high rated. You can also go based on looks, based on taste, and then here you can also see what are they not eating, because it's also important to see what food kids are picking off. So, and also like these would be kid responses, so we don't know how they would be spelled, which is why we kept it in a graph like this, because we can't guarantee with a drop-down menu that they'd be picking off the same things. So this is sort of like an easy way for people to see like, okay, they're not eating a bunch of stuff, or this person didn't eat anything. And then same sort of deal with snacks, like our Spam musubis are doing great, the string cheese, not so much. And that is a trend all the way through our snacks. And what are they not eating? They don't like Brussels sprouts. I don't like this kind of cheese is something. And same thing with our breakfast. We can see lasagna, which was a mystery to me. And of course, all these posts are fake. All these posts are us. But I guess we're eating lasagna for breakfast and loving it. Waffles is great. The breadsticks are not doing great. And then all the way at the bottom, you can see our drinks data, but also our vegetable ratings. So you can see what vegetables the kids are actually eating and which ones they like. Yeah, the admin view I feel like is something that we can also customize as well. So if someone at the school said, hey, I would really like to see a graph based on, because this feeling right now is again just an average. We don't know what meals are making them feel energized or sluggish or bloated. But that's something that's really easy to customize to add more graphs based on the feelings correlated to the food that they're eating. So I'm going to turn this over to Aisha, and she's going to talk about our second phase for this, because this is just phase 1.
Thank you, Anna. So part of the hurdles we had in creating this is that we actually want real student feedback. However, it's the summertime and there's been this thing like figuring out how we're going to go back to school with COVID. So we've reached out to some administrators, friends at Eva Mackay, and we are hoping to get 3 teachers to help pilot this in their health and nutrition courses. Maybe sneak it in a lesson about actually what you're eating and the colors of the rainbow. That's kind of like a slogan they had for school foods, to eat the rainbow. But we can actually right now get some feedback from those administrators. And in the past, I've worked in this field of trying to change school foods menus, and it's a very complicated space of where they're resourcing their food from, like is it from local farms, which it's never, or is it from a big aggregate resource, either like the Department of Defense or like Cisco Foods, which is a giant aggregate food source. You never really know where they're getting their school foods from unless you ask the school foods administrator, the manager. So this app is helping us aggregate a lot of data on school preferences, the student preferences. So eventually when there's an administrator to talk to, like the school foods manager, they can see exactly what Anna was talking about, so they could adjust their menus. And then maybe this can go into a larger conversation of where we're sourcing our food. Also, phase 2, after maybe a semester of testing, we would have the students actually rate or modify their menu based on what is the lowest rated food, what is the highest rated food, and give their input. Right now, we're just collecting the data so that we have something to work on for phase 2. And this is actually, we were only able to get a small amount of feedback considering what teachers are being asked right now is impacting their schedules. But we got feedback from somebody who used to work in nutrition with a young woman who had to create a food journal. And they said it was really inspiring. This app would have been so great because the young woman they were working with was always so bored with writing, and it was so challenging to create a food journal because of the kind of dyslexia that she had. So we tried to make the app really user-friendly, really appealing to kids, and something that they're very used to. I think one of my big takeaways in working on this project is that we were blessed with such a great team of 2 professional coders, a professional graphic designer, and I'm a project manager. So it was awesome to have a very competent team that was just used to looking at Trello and getting things done. And I really appreciate Makers for bringing us all together, because I hope that we can continue in our project and change school foods in the future. So if you check out our website, gotgrinds.webflow.io, you can see a little bit more about the ins and outs, or you could download Got Grinds by using the QR code right here. And I guess I'll just ask anybody else from the team if you want to share your thoughts about the process or creating or designing our app.
I mean, I guess I just want to echo what you said. Our team is incredible. We have been very blessed with having a very well-balanced team and also super competent. It was awesome to like brainstorm logo designs and all of that. And I feel like we brought a lot of like the discussions that we had during the creation of this app was really, especially during this time of quarantine, it was like a really good mental brain exercise. I loved it. And I'm going to miss seeing you guys 3 times a week. Yeah.
Yeah, I second that. I work from home now, so having someone to look forward to like this class was really nice during quarantine. But also our group got really close, like so it was just nice to have people to talk to and work with, and not have to be worried about work and just do fun stuff. So, and then it was also nice kind of forcing myself to learn these new technologies that I probably would have never ventured out on my own. Because being a professional software developer, it's like love-hate relationship with these kinds of softwares. But yeah, it's good to know. It's good to have under your tool belt. So yeah, thank you. Thank you to everyone at Makers.
Yeah, it was a super fun process as well. It helped that we had a really great group. Yeah, in learning all the new technologies and whatnot. Also, it was also fun when we were even coming up with a name. In our other meetings, we had like a lot of crazy brainstorming stuff. Same with like, yeah, the logo and everything. It was just, yeah, got super lucky. Thank you.
Got Grinds. Give it up for Got Grinds. Now we're all ready for dinner. Guys, that was amazing. Like the other two teams, right? And in 3 weeks that you guys could put something together that's not only so thoughtful and so smart and so needed, but also so well put together, and easy, what looks like super easy to use. You guys actually do have some great questions in the chat, and most of the questions kind of come in the form of some good feedback, and some possible suggestions. So I'm not going to go through them now because we're just a little bit over time, but for the Got Grinds team, have a look at some of those questions if you haven't already in the chat, and see if those are worth incorporating. I just want to say thank you again to all the participants, and I want to say thank you to everyone else who showed up to support this amazing group of participants, from the broader Purple Maya Ohana. Yeah, big round of applause for all of you. Thanks for giving us an hour and a half of your time, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I've been around the last 8 weeks, and I'm still kind of blown away by how much these guys did. So I'm going to be quiet and hand it over to the real masters of this class, the two Kumuvik and Keahi, who deserve a big round of applause, and they'll close us out. But thank you, guys.
Can you guys hear me? Awesome. Yeah, mahalo to all the students for sure. Thanks for everyone that showed up to see what they're up to and check out their work. They did a fantastic job. You know, proud is not quite the word. I need something stronger than that. You guys did a really good job. We threw so many tools at you: Trello, Glide, Webflow, design thinking, and you guys put this together. I mean, it's more like 2.5 weeks, so it's super impressive. You guys should be proud of yourselves for sure. Thank you for your time, and I can't wait to see what you guys do next in the different phases. It's exciting.
Yeah, just to piggyback off Keahi's statements, I want to thank the students who participated in this event. Thank you for being a part of this journey. It was kind of crazy during the last 8 weeks, but you guys knocked out of the park. It was unbelievable, the projects that you guys have made. I love the fact that how you guys came together in a short amount of time to produce a really awesome prototype. I also want to again to thank and acknowledge Kamehameha Schools, Ian, Heidi, and Sandra, and also the Council of Native Hawaiian Advancement, Kuhio and Leonani. Without your support, we could not have done this Makers Bootcamp, so thank you very much. And again, thank you for everyone who joined in today. I know you have a busy schedule, but thank you for being part of our Makers Bootcamp and celebrating the success of our students. So thank you, and big mahalo to everyone. And one more plug. So we have another program coming up. So we have a Salesforce Administrator program starting up in September. So I hope some of you guys, if not all of you guys, will be signing up for that class. And the Slack channel will be open, so we can keep our communication channels open that way. So see you guys soon.